I just knew all of the problems we were having, a lot of it tied back to subcontractors and not having control over what was going to happen in the work site. And then also the margins were lower than what we were making off baths and windows. And, just from a consistency standpoint, having employees, I just knew we could have a lot more traction, moving the ball forward. And, we dropped, I cut half the business, but we still grew that next year and did about $5 million. So it's not like it was a massive cut at the end of the day. And what we cut out was lower profitable stuff anyways.
Yeah.
So it really didn't hurt that bad.
This is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast, brought to you by G4 Marketing. Interviews with today's top home improvement entrepreneurs about marketing, sales, money, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, here's your host, Brian Kaskavalciyan.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. This is Brian Kaskavalciyan with G4 Marketing Group. And I have got with me today, Jerry Fleenor. I've known Jerry for a very, very long time. I started to work with Jerry when he was running Bordner in St. Louis, Kansas City.
Yep.
City. All right. And so got to spend a lot of time with him. And one of the things that I've always been very impressed with Jerry is just his ability to get things done. He's a hell of an operator of this business. I'm just an absolute hell of an operator. And so we're going to talk a little bit about getting stuff done. I ran into Jerry and his lovely wife the week before at Top 500. So it was great to catch up. And I said to him, hey, you got to be on the podcast. And so here he is, gracious enough to spend some time with me. So Jerry, can you give everybody like the 2-minute version of your story? Where'd you start and where are you today?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you mentioned, I was originally in Kansas City, working for my father and my uncle's family business. Started on a roof actually in 1991 after I graduated high school in between college. So that's kind of what was my first experience dealing with home improvements in any way. And then eventually moved into sales and then running the business at one point, along with my brother-in-law back there. We kind of co-managed the business. And then in 2012, I moved to Colorado, supposed to be a temporary thing, hailstorm chasing type deal. And if you've ever been to Colorado, it's easy to fall in love and never want to leave. And so that's basically what happened. We opened up a permanent office. And then in 2018, my dad retired. And so I ended up buying this office from him and my uncles. And then my brother-in-law bought out my dad. And, they've kind of gone their way. And I'm doing my own thing here. And went from being mainly exteriors to really just doing interior work at this point. So, we do cabinet refacing, bath remodels. So we're a luxury bath dealer. A lot of one-day bath. That's the majority of our business. And then also windows and doors. So that's pretty much where we're at today. We have an office here in Colorado Springs and just recently opened up an office in Denver as well.
Cool. How many salespeople?
14, I think is what we got right now.
Wow, 14. And about how many jobs do you think you'll complete this year?
Probably around 1,000 jobs, I would say, this year.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah. So in the few years that I haven't seen you, you have grown quite a bit, because I think the last time we talked, you were still mainly exteriors. I think you had 3 or 4 salespeople running a nice business, but
I think for us, we were doing so many different products, whether it was roofing, siding, stucco, soffit fascia, gutter, and then still doing windows and doors. Just for me, it really made sense for us to pare back to things that get a little more streamlined, just a handful of products. And I really wanted in-house employees. I didn't want to subcontract out anything. And so if you're in the roofing business, it's very difficult to do that, especially in a hail market. I know that roofers can be very successful in areas where they don't have hail. You can get some consistency and things like that. But I really wanted a predictable business. And I feel like the products that we sell are very predictable. And it just boils down to marketing, right? Like if you know how to market, generate leads, you can continue to grow your business and be successful, and it to be somewhat predictable at least.
Right. Which is the ideal, right? Is
Correct.
to have, the processes and systems in place that create predictable results.
Yep.
So let's go back. So 2012, you said, was when you started there in Colorado Springs. How long did it take you to hit, say, 5 million in sales?
Probably 4 or 5 years. I think we were there, and a lot of that was due to a hailstorm, right? Coming into a market, and it was a learning process for me to really learn how to market the business. When I was in Kansas City, we were very fortunate, probably the largest roofing contractor in Kansas City at the time, very well known. In 2011, we had a hailstorm there and got 15,000 leads out of one hailstorm. And that was no advertising, just the phone rang. So then coming here and starting new, there was a little bit of a learning curve, but I've been fortunate. I was able to hire a good marketing manager, and he was able to help us steadily grow up until he just retired a couple weeks ago. And so we have a new director of marketing.
Oh, wow. So when did you make the switch from exteriors to bath?
That would have been 2016, 17, somewhere in there.
And again, you made that decision because you wanted something that was more consistent, something you could market every single day and get leads for every single day and install every single day, quick, and turn your money.
Correct. So one of the things is we won't sell a product we can't install in a week or less. So just that's the thing with siding and roofing, is those things drag on. And the one thing I learned is after 2 weeks, no matter how well the job's going and how clean you keep the place, people just want you gone. They don't want you around. Yep. So that's why we don't do full-blown bathroom or kitchen remodel either. We keep it simple, get in and out quick, stuff with good margins, things like that.
So we were this week, part of Tuesday and then all Wednesday and Thursday, our Wealthy Contractor Mastermind group was in town for our final meeting of the year. Mm-hmm. And one of the people, well, there's two of them, but one of the people in the group is in a very interesting niche. And what he does is full-scale conversions of units into rentals. And it's a really interesting niche. And the business model is what's flawed. And it's exactly what you just said. His jobs can take months. Now they're $150,000 and $160,000, but they can take 2 and 3 months. And everybody else in the room is in replacement, like you are.
Right. Yeah.
And so his thing was, I think I need to, and by the way, he's selling millions and millions and millions of dollars of this. The problem is as you said, after 2 weeks, they hate you. And then the job drags on, your money drags on. And a lot of people are stuck in that business. So it's very interesting the way that you said that is it's got to be a week or less. But ideally it's a day or two, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, baths, we could definitely be out within a couple of days. Windows, a lot of times a day or two. Yeah. Kitchens, with cabinet refacing, that's the one that's going to take us a little longer. But typically most jobs can be finished within a week.
Yeah, which is amazing. And people are thrilled. You redid my kitchen in a week. So when you started to make that conversion, give us a sense of how big the company was in 2016 when you decided to make that shift?
And we were doing about 7 million at the time, and we basically cut our business in half. I just cut it off and started over and replaced people and moved things around and just started growing, from there.
Okay, so okay, so what's interesting about what you just said, and I kind of thought that that's where you were going to go with it, is there was also somebody in the group, another person in the group, that there is a division of their business that they just will not let go of. And everybody knows, because they're not making the money they should be making, everybody knows that that's the division that's bringing them down, but they will not let go of it. So it takes a lot of guts to lop off half of your business. How did you, what was the thinking process behind that? How did you reconcile that with yourself? Because I would imagine the minute you came up with the idea, there was all kinds of resistance in your head. Are you out of your mind? Are you crazy? There must have been, your little Jerry must have been screaming at you.
Surprisingly, no.
Okay.
I just knew all of the problems we were having. A lot of it tied back to subcontractors and not having control over what was going to happen in the work site. And then also the margins were lower than what we were making off baths and windows. And, just from a consistency standpoint, having employees, I just knew we could have a lot more traction, moving the ball forward. And, we dropped, I cut half the business, but we still grew that next year and did about $5 million. So it's not like it was a massive cut at the end of the day. And what we cut out was lower profitable stuff anyways.
Yeah.
So it really didn't hurt that bad.
Yeah. Well, because most people think when they get, when you propose that idea to them, they think, oh my God, there's no way we're going to be able to survive. We're going to this, we're going to that. But you knew your numbers, right? Inside and out. You knew exactly what was going to happen when you made that shift. Do you want to talk a little bit about that control over finance, that understanding that you had that allowed you to do that?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm the greatest with the numbers. I'm a visionary type guy. As we were talking earlier, I've really hired somebody to run my business who focuses more on that. For me, honestly, it was just more of a gut feeling. I knew the numbers enough to know that cutting lower margin stuff and adding higher margin stuff and having consistency and control in the long run was going to be better. Now we had to shore up some overhead things and make a few changes there. But that's just part of it, right? If you're gonna cut back your sales and your installs and your revenue, you gotta make some changes in some other places.
Okay, so what you're saying is, oh, I'm the visionary, and I brought in people to do that. Yes, which I know you have that skill set, but before you had that skill set, are you telling me that you would not look at your financial statements until the end of the year?
Never said that. Always reviewed financial statements.
Okay.
Fact,
that's where I was getting.
Actually, I looked at my financial statements the other day. We're halfway through the month, and I want to know, kind of where things stand. Even though I know it's not 100% accurate, it still gives me some sort of a feel of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It also allows me to know I can pull reports and compare what's I show completed inside of lead perfection versus what's billed. So I know if accounting's missing something and they haven't billed everything. There's always keep an eye on that stuff.
Yeah. Good. That's what I thought. Because in your humbleness, which you've always, that was one thing I always really loved about working with you when we were working closer together all those years back, and really respected about you, was how humble you were. Because you ran the largest roofing company in the state, and you could have been a real pill. But you were always really cool and humble. And so you say those things, and I know what, I kind of know that, well, wait a minute, he's being a little humble here, because you knew your numbers inside and out, because you got financial statements on a regular basis every single month, right? You knew exactly where you were.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. You have to. You can't just fly blindly by any means. It's funny. I was talking to my accountant, and he was saying he has, people who don't even look at their financial statements. They don't look at QuickBooks. They don't, update stuff on a regular basis, that they just wait till the end of the year. And I couldn't do that. we've gotten big enough now for sure that there's no way possible you could operate that way.
Jerry, you would be surprised at how many business owners don't have a real grip or understanding on their finances. And it's almost like, it's checkbook management. If there's money in the checking account, we must be doing okay. And it's always scary to run a business that way, but in these times especially, it's really scary because change is going to come at some point. And if you don't understand every number in your business, and if you're not nimble and you don't have a way of adjusting when this happens, it was funny in the meeting, we were talking about this thing that, hey, this can't last. It's not sustainable. One of the guys
Agreed.
said, winter is coming,
I would agree.
Yeah. And we don't know when.
Mm-mm.
We have no idea. We don't know what it's going to look like. We just know there's going to be some sort of contraction. So marketing wise, let's go back to that, because you basically had to, when you cut off part of the business, you now had to ramp up the other part of the marketing side of it, because it's a leads business. You had to bring in leads. How did you go about that? And what I mean by that is kind of like, did you say, okay, we want to do $5 million, and in order to make up that other $1.5 million, we have to get this many leads, and in order to get this many leads, we got to do this and this? Is that kind of how you looked at it, or how do you look at that?
Well, like I said, marketing has been an evolution for us. Back then I wasn't the best at it. I was very fortunate to hire a gentleman who was very good at it, and he's really helped propel our business over the last several years, actually. And so I give him a lot of credit for that, understanding where things were. We were always heavy in shows and events, working 150 plus shows, events per year. That's just always been a mainstay. The biggest thing for us was when COVID hit. Early in the year, we had really had no money budgeted at all for anything other than shows and events, just because it was such a heavy time of the year for us. Yeah. So we got caught a little flat-footed. So from a marketing standpoint, I learned a very valuable lesson when COVID hit, which is don't have all your eggs in one basket. You got to be completely diversified from a marketing standpoint.
Absolutely. Yeah. How many lead sources would you say you have right now?
20-ish. I mean, we got several lead aggregators, pay-per-click, SEO. We do a ton of TV. We're on probably 7 or 8 TV stations up and down the Front Range. That's a big portion of our marketing and budget. Do some pay-for-performance newspaper as well, although that's kind of waned away a little bit here in the last year.
Why?
I can't really put my finger on it. It was very, very effective for us and had a 10% cost of marketing. That's kind of what we were tied in with the vendors on. And just all of a sudden we quit getting responses from it. And I don't know if it's just, that it tends to be our clientele, which is a little on the older side. And I don't know if they're just being more cautious than they have due to COVID, and they're not calling as much. So I really don't know what the reason is for it.
Yeah, and you're talking specifically newspapers, I'm going to guess.
Correct. So we were in 7 publications. I think we're down to only 1 or 2 at this point, just because the others, they weren't producing anything. And the nice thing about that is we're getting a lot of free branding at the very least from it. People are seeing our ads day in, day out, and that unfortunately that's kind of gone away. But the good thing is shows and events have come back. And so, whenever we have shows and events, it always makes for a good next week or 2 after that. And I'm excited. January's coming. We start January to June is our big event season. So it'll be game on. Everybody's getting a little bit of a break here for 45 days, but after that, it's back to hitting it hard.
Yeah. What would you say? I mean, what for you is the minimum number of lead sources that you want to have on the board at any given time?
I honestly don't know. I don't know that there is a minimum. I want every lead source I can possibly get.
Yeah.
I mean, we're constantly looking at different lead aggregators. We went to LeadsCon about a month ago in Vegas, trying to find more people who could sell us good quality leads. And, that's a process, trying to understand what's a good lead coming from these people and what's not a good lead. For us, I think the next venture for us is we're gonna get back into canvassing. We've done it in the past with limited success. We'd have some really good months and some really bad months. And but I think with my new director of marketing, she's got a background in canvassing and is excited to get it going early next year. Probably around February, we'll start hiring and training for it to launch that.
Let's pause here for a quick break. Are you ready to accelerate your business success in 2022? If you answered yes, then you'll want to listen closely to the special invitation. We're calling all home improvement and home service business owners to join us at Accelerate Live 2022, happening in beautiful sunny South Florida on February 15th and 16th. This is the only home improvement event guaranteed to be profitable for you on day one. To get more information, please go to www.accelerateevent.com. Discounted pricing is available right now. So if you want to save big, go to www.accelerateevent.com, and for additional savings, enter coupon code WEALTHY22 at checkout. Remember, this event is 100% guaranteed. If you don't feel it was profitable enough for you on day one, not only will we refund you your ticket money, but we will also give you $1,000 back to cover your time and your travel. So don't delay. Go to www.accelerateevent.com and secure your ticket today. Now back to this week's episode.
Cool. So, one of the things that you said earlier is, your ability to get things done through other people. You bring on people to fill roles in your business. So you're basically working on your business, not in your business, as we all like to say, from Michael Gerber. So I guess, how do you do that? I don't know what was your process for that? I know it was something you were used to, but I'm just, if we're talking to somebody out there that's struggling there, because most of the time it's us, the owner, that's in the way of our growth, because we hold on to doing things that we should not be doing, that other people we should bring in people that can do it so that we don't have to do it. But how do you get started with something like that? What are you looking for in people? How do you determine what's next? What am I going to give up next?
Right. Well, I got to give my brother-in-law a lot of credit. He got me to read a book called Traction, which is EOS, and we've begun really implementing that in our business. And in there, it talks about delegate and elevate. I mean, that's one of the big exercises that we're all working on as a leadership team right now. We're over the next 2 weeks, we're actually going through everything we do on a daily basis and trying to assess what we can push down to other people. So that's a fun exercise to do. I have a really great integrator for my business that I was able to hire. I've always known I needed to hire for my what my weaknesses were. And so I'm not the person who holds everybody accountable. I'm more the culture warrior, I would say, around our organization. Like, I care about our employees and the experience they have. I care about our customers and the experience they have. So that's what my focus really lies on And so going through EOS, it just really helped me narrow down to find the right person who melds really well with me. We're on the same page. We understand things. So I was able to pass off the day-to-day duties to him. And then we've been very fortunate to hire a really exceptional leadership team and hire, the right people into the right seats, which is another part of EOS. Another tool that we're using is Culture Index, which has been a game changer for our business. Really allows us to understand who people are before we interview them, to make sure that they have the right character traits for the job. And that's just been a huge impact on our business. I can't say enough about both of those things.
What is the difference between Culture Index and something like DISC? I've heard a lot of people talk about Culture Index, and I think we've looked into it here, or they might be using, they might even be using it.
Yeah, so I think the whole idea is basically the same, right? You've got the D, the I, the S, the C, and then with the Culture Index, you have an A, B, C, and D profile. So the A is the autonomy, the B is the social ability, the C is the patience, and the D is the attention to detail. And so the thing I really like about Culture Index that's different from DISC is we can create what's called a C job for every position or organization. And when an applicant comes in, it ranks them against the ideal for that position. And it will tell you what percentage match they are, and then overlays a graph over the existing graph to show you where the differences are between the two people. So you can see, maybe you want somebody who's got a whole lot of attention to detail for a position, and it will show you how far they vary from that. And so
that's interesting.
Our rule of thumb is if somebody doesn't match at least 80%, we won't even interview them. They're not going to have enough of the characteristics that we're looking for to even, spend the time to have a conversation with them. And then it measures, like your ingenuity ability and your logic score, and then also what's called energy units. And, we found the energy units to be really interesting. People with high energy units tend to work a lot more than people with lower energy units. Those are usually the people that are going home right at 5 o'clock every day. The higher the energy unit, the longer time people will actually stick around and work a little harder.
Yeah, and probably people that are very motivated by incentives as well.
Yeah, salespeople are always motivated by incentives. Our call center people are, show and event workers are. The everyday, like office type personnel don't seem to be, and that's not really what we're focused on with them. Overall, we're more focused on having a culture, where people want to work and they want to achieve something, but they're not necessarily motivated by the money necessarily. We just had a company outing, our quarterly company outing the other night, and had 65 people show up and bring spouses and kids and everything, and it just was a really great time to get together and bond and kind of promote who we are as a company.
Nice. So what does that look like when you say promote who we are as a company? You get together and what happens? Do you get up and talk? What do you do?
Yeah. So I give our core value speech once a quarter, get up and because we always got new people coming in. And so, it's important for them to hear who we are, what our belief systems are, what our core values are. And so then we give awards around our core values. And so whoever was the best representative of one of our core values, they all get a gift. And we're trying to tailor those to kind of be something that's a blessing to the person, based on, what their needs are and what they've got going on in their life. So that was a lot of fun to do. That's the second quarterly we've done that. And it just was a really great time. We went to Whirly Ball. I don't know if you're familiar with Whirly Ball.
No.
So it's like bumper cars meets highlight and basketball on a basketball court type deal. It sounds really weird, but it's actually a lot of fun. And so
it sounds weird, but it must be fun.
It is. Yeah. Everybody had a great time. But yeah, I mean, giving awards around core values is the big thing. And so like I mentioned, we had 4, we didn't really feel like we had anybody that represented one of our core values. So we didn't give an award around it. It's one of those things where we really want people to have to earn them. We're not just looking to give stuff away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny this week, with the whole culture index thing and with EOS. And for those of you that are not familiar, we've talked about EOS here, I don't know how many times. More and more companies are getting onto the entrepreneurial operating system. We've been on it for a little over 3 years. You guys just started, but it sounds like you're off and running already on the system. But the business owner, the Jerrys and the Bryans and the probably yous of the world are the visionary type. We have the ideas. We are horrible at execution and details. We hate it. And so you need a really good integrator that's going to come in and be a buffer between you and everybody else, so that you can go kind of do your dreaming and thinking and figuring stuff out, and then let the integrator be the person that is dealing with the day-to-day of the business. And so one of the things that we were discussing, because out of the 12 companies, I think 4 of them are doing EOS, and they're in different phases of like when they started doing it. There's another 4 that are like, they need to be on it and they want to get started on it, and they need integrators. And so what we were going to do, and this is interesting what you were saying about culture index, is we were going to take the 4 really good integrators that we have, ours and 3 of the other companies, and we were going to run disc profiles on all 4 of them and compare them. We were going to do Colby on all 4 of them and compare them. But maybe the culture index thing is also something we throw into the mix to see about that layering, like you said, the layering of it. That sounds really interesting. I'll have to ask my team about that and see where we are with culture index. So let me ask, I'm looking at the clock. I always kind of like to ask if you know, what do you know now that you wish you had done sooner, you know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago? What would you do different? Or what do you know today?
Hire people to do the things that I'm not necessarily suited to do. I would certainly hire faster, hire more people. You know, that's a hard thing to get through your mind, right? You view it as overhead, but it's also, by not hiring, you're slowing your growth significantly. We actually just hired a recruiter, and her first job is to hire another recruiter. I mean, that's kind of the way we're looking at it right now, is we need multiple recruiters to fill positions for as fast as we want to grow over the next few years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because the fear is the money. How am I going to pay for this person? What's your answer to that? If somebody's afraid of hiring a leadership type person, somebody that's going to help them run the business, help them run sales, help them run marketing.
So I'm going to go back to culture index, because I do think that takes away a lot of the fear. For me, it takes some of the uncertainty. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to be a great hire and that they're going to do an excellent job. It just narrows the field to where, if you're only interviewing the people who fit what you're looking for, then it makes it a higher likelihood that you're going to hire the right person. And so we've had a lot of success with that specifically. Now, getting people to stick around, they got to fit your culture, right? They got to fit in with everybody. You got to train them and onboard them. And I'll be the first to admit, our training and onboarding hasn't been the greatest, but with EOS, that's been one of our primary focuses over the last 3 months, is really building out our onboarding process. And, you know, I think if you can hire and onboard people properly, then I don't think you're really going to lose any money. Like, bad hires cost you more money than just hiring somebody who's going to stick around and do the job right. So, and back to the EOS thing, you know, we've moved very rapidly with EOS, and I'll credit that to the fact that we got a implementer, not an integrator.
Right.
Yeah, we got an implementer, and I specifically sought out a guy. I told him I wanted the best guy, somebody specifically with experience in our industry, and I ended up with the #1 implementer in the country. Lives an hour from our office, and he owned a window home improvement company for 10 years. So, like, he knew everything about our business. We're talking about NSLI, we're talking about lead perfection, and he knew all of these things. So it's been really, really great. and his name's Chris Hallberg, and he has just been able to help us accelerate this whole EOS implementation into our business quickly.
Yeah. EOS is game changer, isn't it?
It is. I can't say enough about it.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done it. My intention was to really start it in 2020, and then COVID hit, and so I kind of put it on the back burner. And it would have been nice to have started earlier, but I'm kind of glad it pushed off another year. I ended up with probably a little better leadership team because of the way things worked out. And, we've just been very fortunate for it to work out as well as it has for us.
Yeah. And what's interesting with what's going on right now with everybody's looking for people, whether you want them or not, you need them. And the thing that I think is tough is your company a place where people want to come and work? Is your company attractive to A players? And all the things that you've been talking about, the culture and making sure that people are the right fit and the core values and all of that. And then, of course, doing the quarterly get-togethers and making people feel like they're all, working towards a common and shared vision. When you've got good people out in the marketplace and you don't have a lot of those things in place, you're going to lose you're going to lose the A players to Jerry, and you're going to end up with the B and the C players.
Right.
And so it's something that we all have to, it's something that we have struggled with a lot this year is just that are we a place where people really want to come and work? Are we a place where we're going to attract A players?
Right. That was a big focus for us. That's always been a focus for me. Like I want my employees to want to work for us because we take care of them, because I truly do care.
Yeah.
We actually just won Best Place to Work in Colorado Springs here about a month ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I'm pretty excited about that. When you're talking about recruiting people, that's a really great, thing to be able to put out there and attract some A talent, which we had attracted some really high level A talent here recently. And that was before that. Just things are headed in the right direction, and in having that EOS stuff in place and having your core values, and it's been really good.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jerry, this has been great. It's been great catching up with you. We didn't really get too much of a chance to catch up a couple of weeks ago, and I'm so happy to hear about all the good stuff that's going on. Happy to hear about how little you're working, and how much fun you're having, which you've earned it, you deserve it, and I'm really happy for you. And that's it, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. So to everybody listening, hope this was of value. And I thought it was really, really, really interesting. You learn, we learn from people that are really doing some things right. And there's a lot of, good nuggets inside of what Jerry talked with us about and shared with us. And hopefully you were able to grab some of those out of there. So until next time, this is Brian Kaskavalsian with G4 Marketing Group, and this is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Let me ask you, did it help you look at your business in a different way? Did it spark an idea or ideas that you hadn't thought of before? Do you have a list of action items that you can take and implement into your business or your life today? I really hope so. If it did, I'd like to ask you a favor. Would you leave a 5-star review of the podcast? By doing so, you'll help other contractors find the podcast more easily so that we can help them achieve more success, wealth, and freedom. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Contractor Podcast so you get access to the latest episodes as soon as they're available. We're always striving to provide you with great content, so you don't want to miss what's coming up. In fact, if you haven't already, make sure you go to thewealthycontractor.com and get your free copy of my latest book, The The 7 Secrets to Becoming a Wealthy Contractor. Just pay shipping and handling, and I'll take care of the cost of the book. And finally, a big thanks to G4 Marketing for sponsoring the Wealthy Contractor podcast. For over 12 years now, G4 Marketing has been the secret back office relationship marketing team for hundreds of home improvement and home service businesses just like yours. You get the customer, and our proven system turns that customer into 5-star reviews and profitable repeat and referral business. If your home improvement or home services company completes at least 10 jobs per month, they have a solution that will work for you. To find out more, sign up for your free, no obligation, 10-minute discovery call at www.g4marketing.com/strategy. That's GFOUR marketing.com/strategy. Set your discovery call up today, and they'll help you set your business up for long-term profits and success. So until next time, this is Brian Cascavalcio.